It looks like it's going to work. Did we do it? Are we here? I mean, Tara's muted, so we'll never know.
That was fun. I love talking into the void. It's the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Did it kick over? I don't know. Are you
I
out
think it kicked over. I think
Okay.
we're here.
Okay, people are coming in. I think it actually worked.
I see it. Oh my goodness, guys. That was the first time we have used that. Not only was that a
Yes.
premiere for social anxiety, that was also a premiere for our trying to use the live stream that ought to kick over.
Yeah. Oh, now I forgot the term. I learned it and then I forget it. But welcome everybody who just watched the live stream, or not the live stream, the premiere of Social Anxiety on the YouTube. We are so excited to finally get to put this out there. We
Yay.
went to over 15 festivals and we're still counting them, but
Yeah.
it took so long to get up there because there are a lot of rules about it not being up online. So we had to hold it for a long time. So glad to finally be putting out there. We do have a couple of festivals still in limbo, but none of them have the internet restrictions that the other festivals. So we decided to go for it. So welcome. Do we want to do anything before we bring Jason in? Jason,
we've got Jason C. Brown with us, our director. We've got Wei Wang with us as well. Jason is sitting there with David Fickus of Drama 3/4, and they were the editing team on Social Anxiety. Jason, Wei, go ahead and take off your mutes, please. A little bit later, we do have Nathan Nonhoff.
Suck it. That's how it's said.
And Alan, I say his last name wrong on purpose, Rueckert. We have two actors that will be joining us in a little bit for a little bit of Q&A. This is what we do in the festival world. Yeah. After you do a screening, people ask you questions if they have any. Hi, Jason. Hi, David. Hi, Wei. How are you?
Hey, guys.
For watching, everybody. I already got a couple texts
from
who watched and said that they loved it. Yeah.
I think you can read
fantastic.
Those.
So Jason C. Brown, little wave there. That is our director. He was also the director of Panic Button and Imaginary Friends.
Yes.
Standing behind him, looming scarily, is Fickus. Well, Fickus. Fickus is what we call him. Fickus is one half of the editing team on this one. Bryce Beckham is the other gentleman that did the edit as well. For the oh my God, I'm like the movie. No, I want to say Drama 3/4, but I can't. I'm like trying to think of what to call your company from the editing team of Drama 3/4.
Well, the production. I mean, yeah, they do everything.
They do so
that's why it's hard to like nail it down. David and Bryce also did Panic Button as well, if you guys saw that one. And then Wei Wang was our director of photography. And he was also the director of photography on Imaginary Friends. We've worked with Wei quite a few times. Going all the way back to Maggie and Maud.
Yeah, way back.
Yeah. All kinds of different places and stuff. Like we did that commercial with Wei, My Doll, right? Where
is that anywhere?
Poster?
I don't think that's anywhere. I've been trying to get that somewhere, but that has not happened.
Who was the toaster? Was it me or Natalie that was the toaster?
Natalie was the toaster.
I was the toaster. Like, which is a weird thing to say. Yeah, I was the toaster. If anybody has any questions, we'll go ahead and riff here for a little while. If you have any questions about, the filming process or anything specific to, Tara also produced, for those of you who are not Natalie and Tara subscribers, Tara played Candace and was the producer. And I played Annie, I think her name was, and I wrote it.
We constantly forget our character names. It's so bad. Where Annie did the wardrobe, and then
in the title, right?
What?
It's in the title.
Yeah,
it is. Well, yeah, but I mean that was an afterthought. So.
Yeah. My God.
Yes, and then we, of course, Natalie did 1,000 other small odd jobs, because whenever you do a bootstrap short film like this, you wind up wearing a lot of hats doing it all at once. So, shout out to that.
I got some questions coming in. I'll go ahead and if you have other ones to ask peoples, if you want to, but I'll go in the first one with Brian Newland asked, how long did the shoot take and what inspired the script, which is also Ben's question. I'll go with the inspiration. I have social anxiety. I actually am, and this is really bad. This job that I have right now, the thing keeps sending me to wrong addresses and I knock on doors and I'm not supposed to be there. And it's happened 3 times now that I've just gone to wrong addresses. But I did show up to my boss's birthday party a weekend early. It was the wrong day. So I didn't go the next week because I couldn't, even though she never knew. I went to knock on the door and I looked at my phone or the invitation or whatever it was at the time and went, wait, that's not today. And I turned around and ran back to the car where I had left Justin to make sure it was the right house. I wasn't worried about the right house. We drove away. We never told her. The shoot day. Who wants to go on, talk about the shoot day?
One day of shooting.
One day.
In one location. I think what I am incredibly proud of about this project is a number of people have mentioned how in one house, it covered a lot of places, from the street in the car to the doorway to the scene with Alan and then back again to the front yard. That we actually got a lot of mileage out of Paula's house, which is not Paula's house anymore, unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah.
Very sad to see it go, but it's memorialized here in Social Anxiety. Wonderful. And it was a one-day shoot, but it was a lot of prep. One of my best moments on this entire film was going to Idle Hour with Wei for about 3 hours and plotting our shoot together for a couple beers at Idle Hour. And that was how we did it in one day, is that we just
there's no way we would have gotten
incredible
through
prep on this one.
Yeah, all of that without knowing exactly what we were doing next and having someone else setting up the next shot before we got finished with the one we had. That was actually another question here. Summer Test, who this name is Steve, resolves to pick better resolutions right now, asked how you pick the camera angles and the shots. Like, what's that process like?
Wei, why don't you take that one? Because I'll chime in with my aspect on that too.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you're talking about photography, you're looking at a couple different things. Like, you're looking at conveying information primarily, and part of that information is emotion of the character, emotion of the moment. You're talking about establishing the location, who's in the location, where's the location, the geography. Sometimes that's important, sometimes that's not. And more than that, you're looking at how do you make something look beautiful. And there's like some certain rules and guidelines that sort of like direct you to that. Like rule 30 is very common for that, leading lines, frames around subjects, that sort of stuff. But beyond that, it's also like the balance of the frame. Like if you have someone talking here and we were shooting through doorways, so we knew we wanted to have like a piece of the shoulder of someone that's going to take up a certain part of the frame, and then we have Natalie who's going to take up a certain part of the frame, and you want to balance that so one isn't dominating the other, and your eye is drawn to what you want your viewer to look at. And then the corollary to that is to look at your background and are there any distractions that would draw your eye away from the thing that's important. So you don't want like poles sticking out of people's heads or like branches and stuff or any of that sort of stuff that could be distracting or make anyone look like a moose. Unless that's what you're going for.
I think something to keep in mind on this one is that this was a one camera shoot. So we shot the most important things of the story, I think, are the scenes at the doorway. And we had to shoot one after another scenes at the doorway and then turn around and shoot one after another. So for Wei and I, it was very important to keep the symmetry and the consistency, knowing that the camera would kind of stay in the same place. And I was timing Natalie and Tara to see how fast they could change clothes.
And that does go back to what Natalie was talking about, what Jason was talking about in terms of the planning. Knowing that we were going to do like what we call block shooting, shoot everything from this one angle, shoot everything from this other angle, which put a lot of pressure on like on the cast to go through wardrobe, and it's like, oh, and move from this small beat to this other beat, and a lot of times not in order. It was all planning, and
We
like
did
I
all
don't
the
think,
gasps at once.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
Lots of
hyperventilating.
gasping. Lots of
yeah.
gas.
We call it the gas sequence.
And then when choosing shots, I think, and Wei, you can speak this as well, we all have like wish list shots that if we want, if we can pull this off, this is stuff that is going to be great. For example, one of my favorite shots the entire show, and I mentioned this during the live stream, is after Natalie does her little uh, pump up talk in the front lawn. She goes to knock on the door, pauses, and then leans down and rings the doorbell. And that
Which
was
actually, bringing David in, they had to slow that down.
yes.
Like
So
that was not in.
editorially,
It's just one of
that
those
was a
like weird
team
things. Like,
shot.
yeah, one of those things like the editing magic that it didn't work in as fast as I did it, even as slow as it felt like I was going. Like, the things to go. Can you slow that shot down, please? Can you make it
And
take
that
longer before I push
confluence
the bell?
is one of my favorite shots of the whole movie. Is that beat. And we talked about wish list shots like that. Like, oh, if we have time, we need to do some cool stuff like this. The other one that I would say is in that same vein, but this was a shot that we had to have, was that final shot where the door closes and then we pull back and we land on the bottle of wine as the button at the credits. Another shot that this is one that we have to take the time for, that before we ever showed up on set, Wei and I had that shot planned out, how it was going to look, how we were going to frame it. And yeah, so we do a lot of planning before anything ever happens. And then when we screw up, Vicus fixes it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then
didn't
speaking of editing, like I think it's important to like have a variety of shot sizes, a variety of angles to help in editing. So like, because if you're all you have is that one angle, then your options to cut are extremely limited, unless you do some sort of like jump cut or something. So having sizes helps with that. Having sizes allows you to also emphasize particular moments. So you're doing something wider, and then like there's a particular beat or like to show something like the bottle or the wine bottle at the end because it's a close up, you're emphasizing this thing as important. And we saw it earlier when it was in the car, and now it's like intentionally left outside the door. Like the shot size conveys a lot of information as well.
I got David Faith here is asking, and unfortunately, John Brennan, our composer, couldn't be here. We're really hoping he could. He asked, how do you come to select pieces of music for this film? And also, was there any challenges in selecting the soundtrack? John is just brilliant. I think, he comes in with these pieces. I mean, obviously it's been a while, but I don't think we really had any huge hiccups.
The big thing about soundtrack for this, and this is our second time collaborating with John, and I echo Natalie's sentiments that he's on a plane right now. He did send a text before this started wishing us luck tonight. I think the biggest challenge for this one, soundtrack wise, was so for me and our team, usually we try and give some kind of a reference point soundtrack to start with. When it came to Imaginary Friends, it was the same way. We were giving reference points, and for this one,
we talked about that.
It was Lemony Snicket, which Ficus suggested, and John Brennan kind of ran with. So the opening of the film is in that vein, which is the minimalist Lemony Snicket soundtrack. And then the challenge was every time the door opened and you saw behind Tara, whether it was a costume party or just waking up in the morning or Do I Even Know You, John had to do a different piece of music for those 15-second beats. And it was from like, and John, like I said, is a genius because he would be like, okay, this is funky jazz. This is 80s retro. This, I'm thinking Talking Heads, meets The Cure. And he came up with different pieces of music. So I think for this one specifically, it was all the different genres that he had to tackle for each of the door opening scenes was the biggest shot because he had to get a feeling across in not a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, as an editor working with like a temp thing, when we're trying to find the kind of the rhythms of those things, until a composer, you kind of say, oh, here are the rhythms of it, but we're like using the same piece over and over and again, or something like that. Knowing that a composer like John is going to like go, like, we're like, This is the bad version because we're stuck using a temp soundtrack. So he makes it the good version because it makes the movie feel much more dynamic than like hearing the same,
Yeah, and
yeah.
and it moves so much differently once you get the music in there. Like those first couple edits, you go, it's just stiff and it's not, but then you get that little train sound moving in there and suddenly the door feels so much faster than everything that you saw in editing before.
Yeah.
And I love working with John because my note to him is always make sure that there's some beat that happens either on a cut or on an action. So like when you press the button on the phone, you hear the thing, of the sound.
Oh yeah.
So I always, if you want, it's very key in Imaginary Friends where on certain cuts.
I'm gonna have to watch again just to listen for that.
There's a couple places where right on cuts.
That's very signature John point for me. That stuff like, oh, I want that for this, so we need him for that because we got moments.
Which he does have this soundtrack on Spotify. We need to get that link someplace. I'll put it in the description later on. Blair asked, how does the ever-changing light factor into a one camera setup? Like, how do you deal with that?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Nuclear shot.
Yeah, you have to have an eye for not only exposure but consistency. It's anticipating where the sun's gonna be and how that's gonna shift, how that's gonna affect what the light is hitting. So maybe it's like shooting everything one way, knowing that the light's gonna be coming this way, then shoot everything this other way, knowing the light's gonna come here.
And that was determined in prep. Way had this Sunseeker, so we knew where the sun was going, and this is not something that's decided on the day. This is worked out well in advance. And I would say the most important thing when it comes to light is that when Wei looks at me and goes, "Hey, we need to hurry up," go faster.
Well, you guys ended facing into the house, right? Yeah. So you could, which you had more control over. I just remember from editing going, oh, this is where all the Natalie stuff was shot first and then all the Tara stuff was last, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because we knew we were going to lose the direct sunlight because the way the house was oriented, the door was pointing south. And then so there was a point like early in the day that someone was coming this way, end of the day. So it was like we had to get all this stuff because otherwise we were going to lose the sunlight from like the roof of the house.
And then finish inside.
Yeah.
I got this really quick. I got this question from Brian that says, how many festivals did this play at and what was your favorite? And the only reason I'm even going to field that one is because the person underneath it is Samuel, who it runs now called Waco Independent. So we're going to say that that's our favorite festival.
Our favorite was Waco Independent.
Ben is going to be mad.
Jason, I got another question here for Summer Test. Are you a one take guy or do you do film until you have a certain number of satisfaction?
Good question. I usually I'll always at least do two, and I think I do more takes with Natalie, less with Tara, and I think that's just.
I don't know if that's good or not.
And I'm not just talking about Natalie's feet acting, of
Oh
which
my gosh.
is one of which that's actually in my contract that we have to shoot Natalie's feet once per show.
That doesn't sound good, Jason.
Yeah, there's a creeper.
Praise that.
Every show. Every show.
Yeah.
It's just
no. I think you feel it out, and you make sure that Wei is good. You make sure the actors are good, and 9 times out of 10, with Natalie and Tara, it's really easy. And it was the same experience on Panic Button that they know the material so well that I don't have to do much to make it right. Little pushes here and there, but it's pretty good going in. And like always, we do a table read before we ever start. So that also makes performances a lot smoother on the day because I've already heard it once, twice, maybe even 3 times, depending on the project. So definitely more than one. I don't think we ever did anything over 5. Maybe just the long scenes, but I don't think we did anything over 5 on this whole show.
I don't think we had time to do anything over 5 on this one.
True. It was a full day.
When we did Panic Button, we did at least 5 takes of me trying to walk through.
Yeah, and when we did Panic
Button, trying to go over the law that we had.
We did at least 10 takes of us going back to 1 up the hill with lots
the
of
mountain.
And I won.
That was different because that was with a drone. So I only needed you. Okay, guys, reset a 1/4 mile that way, and it'll be great.
We'll get there in 5 minutes. Just give it a sec. Will there be a sequel? I'd love to see this character, Annie, and her imagination in other anxious situations. That's
I feel like you could kind of write this character as kind of an Ally McBeal type thing where all these things play out. I just don't, and this could be like the opening sequence to something, but I don't know.
You can do the flip of it. It's the exact same time, but it's Tara's character like having anxiety about throwing a party.
Throwing a party?
Yeah.
And no one
I was gonna say
up.
Annie has a job interview.
Yeah,
And over and over and over. It's the
She
worst.
just goes through, her entire life is just going through this job interview.
Well, like flip side, I did throw. I have issues with birthdays beyond this, but I did throw a birthday party one time where it rained horribly, horribly hard, and no one showed up for the first 2 hours. So I thought no one was coming to my birthday party.
Oh.
So I proceeded to get very drunk, and then everyone shows up.
And then we all showed up.
Very drunk.
And we played
very drunk and on her 10th birthday.
While you were wasted.
My 10th birthday. I proceeded to try and have a party while I'm very drunk. It was that would be my social anxiety.
By the way, I told you Ben would be mad. Look at his comment.
I know. Well, I couldn't say anything else. I was like,
Ben, we also really love to
first.
I say you guys stick around because in case anybody has any more questions for you, but let's go ahead and bring our actors in. Let's bring Nathan Nathan, tell me how to say your name. And then Alan.
Nathan, go and turn your cameras and your mics on. Jason and Vic, turn your mic and your camera off. And wait.
No, I said they could stick around if they wanted to. In case anybody has any more questions for them, but Nathan, how do I say your last name?
It's Nonhoff.
I want to put an extra Nanahoff.
Nanahoff.
I'm not mad at that. I mean, I'm happy about that too.
I have a bad tendency of taking people's names and like putting flourish to them, like Ash Bloggett. like all these people always put like some extra flourish in there.
And also we have the bad habit of assigning a nickname to people and then it ruins the name forever and then we no longer can say the name because we've said the nickname for so long. So there's that.
That happens too.
All right, guys, go ahead and toss out your questions for our actors here. Obviously,
if you got actor questions, Jason's still here, obviously.
Natalie, I think now is a really good time for the nipple story.
So Nathan hasn't heard this story.
This is new to me.
I was at a film festival. I won't name which festival. And we were playing with a feature film. The feature film played, and then ours starts. And up on the screen, it's zoomed really far in. And all you can see is the dimple in my chin, which is one of my least favorite features. And I'm like, and then it cuts in like, I'm like, what's going on? And I'm looking around and the person who's running it is not there. And there's people in the theater, actually it was outdoor theater. And I'm just like, okay. But then it goes to the door and all it is Nathan's nipple. And that's when I stood up. I was like, well, we're not watching this. And I go over to the computer and I turn off the thing by myself because I was like, we're not going to get any further into this film like this. And just then the person running the festival comes running around and I was like, it's zoomed in. I don't know what's going on. We ended up getting to watch it. We were sitting outside it was freezing, but everyone stuck around and we watched it for real. But there was a moment where I was like, maybe it'll fix itself. Maybe someone will fix it. But then once it was just your nipple on the big screen, I mean, it was a giant screen. I was like, okay, we're gonna stop this.
I love that. And I also want a copy of the nipple cut if I can get
the
it.
nipple cut. Oh gosh, no.
I'll get that right over to you.
Release the nipple cut. Release the nipple cut.
Yeah.
Nathan, so I have questions before any of these are starting to come in. So Nathan, like, what's it like to get asked to be towel guy? Like, when we're like, hey, will you send us an audition for this role right here before it even had a name? You know?
Yeah, it was originally towel guy, and I don't know. I think at that point I was like, yeah, this fits.
I do enjoy towels.
I like towels a lot. I'll do it.
It's at that point I think Tara and I had worked together at a bar, and they had drag days, and there were a couple days, I believe, where we were probably working at the same time, and I was probably had my shirt off at some point during the drag match. So
all of your modeling pictures.
Yeah, that's what I was like, oh, that seems right.
With what's under that cardigan.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. There are some very artistic photographs of Nate out there that are awesome and amazing, but very
so originally I wrote that part as a lechy old man, and it was me who was uncomfortable at the door. Like, I mean, obviously I was uncomfortable at the door, but he was trying to, no, I could be Candace type of thing. And it was supposed to be this big overweight guy. And I was like, we were driving, Justin and I, one day, and I was like, this is not right. This is not the right feel for this moment. She has to be completely taken off guard by an absolutely beautiful man. And Tara was like, I got a beautiful guy.
Oh, yeah. I think actually interesting, like we did name you Towel Guy, and then Natalie and I had the discussion of like, should we name him? Like, and it came down to, I think, like what was most beneficial to you, Nate, as an actor. Like, because sometimes
your IMDb, yeah,
your IMDb, it's like more important to have a character name or the descriptor of what you're going for. Like, are you going for those hot hunk of burn in love roles, or are you name?
Yeah. I remember that conversation too.
Yeah. I got one from Ben. He says, how much was Alan allowed to improvise?
Well, this was this was just a great time because Jason, like, we did a couple by the script, but I remember you were just like, okay, now just do whatever you guys want. Like, that was a lot of fun, and he also threw out a bunch of stuff to us. And I've worked with Natalie before, and it's always a blast. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I was saying, I don't know that I necessarily had you in mind while I was writing it, but once we started casting it, I didn't have anybody else in mind.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know that I necessarily wrote, oh, I have a question here. It's Alan, is your wife tired of me casting you as my love interest?
Great question. What's the answer?
I don't know. Christina!
She's in the chat. Okay, actually, this dovetails really well. How many productions, this is from Brian Newland, how many productions have you as a group worked on together so far? I think we play swapsy a lot. Like, Natalie and I have both acted for Alan and Alan's projects. Jason, I know you've called people like me and myself and other people from the group to come do stuff for you, background work and whatnot, for, you know, big projects that you've worked on. Nate, I know you've done the drinking game. Alan, you've done the drinking game. We call you every time we think we can afford you.
And then somehow we end up spending that money on a camera or something.
And somehow you don't take the paycheck, which drives me bonkers.
Also, you have not spent money on the camera. I bring the camera.
Oh, okay, well, not a camera. It's always a light.
It's always a light. It's always a light for a dolly you want. I gotta go find it. I gotta up our insurance somehow on the blue. Yeah,
I'd rather spend the money on something else. Like, you know, as much as I would like it, I'd rather put it on the screen.
You had to play with a different
toy. On
toy.
this one, all the costumes.
Christian Hansen says that Alan Ruckert looks like Hugh Jackman in Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
That is I can die now. Thank you. Yes.
Have that costume in the closet somewhere too, from your awesome collection.
It's around.
I do have claws in a store.
I would say, I know you have claws.
Yep, claws.
David Faith asked, what excited you most about working on this project? We had a script written and we wanted to film something. was Tara and I's thing.
I mean, guys, why on earth
why did you agree to do this?
For me, it's easy. It's getting to be able to collaborate with some of my favorite people, you know, in such a creative way.
Same.
You attach Faye, you attach Alan. I got to meet Nathan on this, you know, it's like you bring in new people to the mix, but you expand on the people that you love working with.
Mm-hmm. David Faith said that looks like way multiplied. There's two of you now.
That's usually how families work.
It happens.
Point. You have any words?
Tara, I have a question for you. What's it like to produce and act in something?
Oh, it's exhausting. I look at that footage and I'm like, that is the tiredest I've ever looked on camera ever. And I definitely need to change the way I go about producing it and acting in something. Because we get so hands-on and like it is so much of my brain leading up to it. Like I don't sleep leading up to it, and I don't sleep during the shoots. So and I'm at the age now where it's starting to show.
Well, Panic Button was different. Panic Button we were producing and everything, but it was such a small little crew. Someone did ask that, like how many people total were on set?
Oh, so 25. Set wise, I think we're like 14 people. Overall,
yeah, I think we have like 25.
Yeah, overall, with post and everything, we're up to like 30 people got their hand touched this project in one way.
Yeah, I think at our height we were at 25 on set.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. 25 on set. I do remember that because we were pushing the boundaries of laws and physics. Scott Westbrook, thank you so much for the super chat. It was really kind of you. He hopes that we are all doing well. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Christina said, not at all. Ha ha ha. So I can continue to cast Alan as my love interest. That's the note I just got.
Writing that down.
Note cards.
I'll take a screenshot for you for later.
Alan, thank your wife for me.
Christina!
Well, if any more questions come in, we'll go ahead and take those. But can you guys tell me what you guys got going on next and where people can find you, starting with Nathan?
Yes. So at the end of February, I will be doing my one-man show, Black Seance, in San Diego.
Wait, say it again.
The one-man show that I'm the one man in, I guess. I'll be doing in San Diego at with Blind Spot Collective. You can either look up, just type in Black Seance San Diego, or you can follow me on Instagram for more information about that. But yeah, that'll be at the last week or so of February into March. So,
may I please have the log line for Black Seance? My interest.
Is it a comedy?
It's got it all. Honestly, it's got comedy, drama, spoken word. It's got singing, dance. It's got everything. But the log line would be a young bartender tries to learn about his past and who he is by invoking a seance and asking historical Black icons about theirs.
Awesome.
Cool.
Are you still doing all the TikToking? Because your TikTok's funny.
Oh, thank you. I know I took a break for a sec, but I do plan to get back up on that again. Yeah.
We'll make sure we put links for the things and the stuff in the chatty chats.
When we get them, we'll link everybody.
Congratulations on the one-man show. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Amazing.
I'm not following that.
Alan, what you got going on?
Well, first of all, Nathan, that show sounds amazing. Please also bring it to Los Angeles if you can. You can find me at Instagram and TikTok and everything at Alan Rickert, ALLENRUECK. I can't even spell my name, ERT. And I have a few film projects that are getting released. The only one I'm able to say anything about is there's a horror film called Banana Head that when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, it scared the shit out of me, which you never know when you do those projects and then you see it, you're like, Jesus, yeah.
It's called Banana Head and it's actually scary?
Yeah, literally, yes. I was terrified.
Yes.
Awesome.
What's up, Jason? What you got going on?
Well, I had a movie that I was the first AD on about 20% of the additional photography called Dix the Musical that came out just recently.
Did you say Dix?
Or Dix the Musical.
With a D.
With a D, yeah. It's a musical. It stars two Broadway guys from New York. It stars Nathan Lane, Megan Mullally, and Megan Thee Stallion.
It looks amazing.
Wow.
It's very irreverent. I just got to work on it for a handful of days, but that just came out before Christmas. That's the big thing that came out. And the other thing is that tomorrow are the Creative Arts Emmys, of which a movie that I worked on, Weird, the Al Yankovic story, is nominated for 8 Emmys, and two of those awards are going to be on the main broadcast on Martin Luther King Day, and 6 of those awards are going to be tomorrow at the Creative Arts Emmys. So that's the big thing in my world right now.
Are you going?
I am going.
You know, wear a tux.
I am going to wear a tux.
Photos, please.
Jason cleans up really nice.
He does.
Hence the shave.
Oh.
Ah.
Wait, what do you got coming up? Anything we can see?
So I have 2 movies on Hulu. Stars Fell in Alabama, and Stars Fell Again, which is a sequel. The sequel dropped on Hulu, I think October, November, something like that. 2 little rom-coms. Then next week, going to Iowa to shoot a little thing with.
Are you?
Are you?
Yeah.
You're going to Iowa, you say?
Yeah. Going to Iowa shooting a little thing with Natalie. Get back, have another short film I'm shooting, and then February I'm going to Japan to shoot a doc on Japanese whiskey. And then
Cool.
in talks, and then when I get back in March, I am in talks to shoot a little short sponsored by Netflix. Don't know if it'll actually end up on Netflix or not, and I don't actually have the job yet, but fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, everyone.
How this goes.
I'm available.
Okay, really quick. I have a couple of questions I do want to cover. Where is it? David Faith, I believe, asked, was the craft services pizza any good? Actually, David Faith, I will have you know, Craft Services was the very famous Justin Wheeler enchiladas, and they were phenomenal. Thank you, Justin, for cooking for us.
They were delicious.
Yeah. It was really good.
I didn't eat on set.
I know, I didn't eat.
I made him make another batch a couple months later because I didn't even have one.
Everyone kept taking them home. We had so many. I got the recipe and I've made it since, and it is very good. Mm-hmm. And then we have another one. Where are there any other films or characters that were used for inspiration while filming?
While filming? I mean, not while writing. I mean, I'm sure there are. I'm sure things influenced in the back of my head. There's no way that, I mean, half of things I write are from either Young Frankenstein or Monty Python. But
I feel like for like shots and stuff, we referenced
the opening. We wanted to feel as if it was dire and thriller and things like that. You know, a little bit of a misdirect in that way. We were reaching back to you know, with the as Way knows, the shot where she checks the rearview mirror and it goes to the eyes. You know, you've seen that shot a million times. Good as ours, but yeah. So some of the horror movie shots that we utilized early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was what's a TV show with the nesting dolls?
Yeah.
Russian doll.
Russian doll. I know we
mentioned
did.
Russian doll, Rashomon.
Yeah. We looked at it a little bit, especially in figuring out what side.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, figuring out how to do the repetitiveness without giving things away, etc. You know.
And what side of the line the gasp need to go. That was a big conversation. Is when does that gasp happen?
So many gasps. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And we ended up just putting them on both sides.
Yeah. Well, if you'll remember the earliest version of the draft, whenever you would gasp, you'd be back in the car again.
Yeah.
That was how the original impetus was, and we had to get you the hell out of that car.
Yeah, Ant-Man said it's very meta, and like you didn't know what was reality or not, which is very much what we were going for, especially with that scene with Alan.
We did spend quite a bit of time, each of us individually, even like thinking about how to not give away that this isn't reality yet. Yes. You know, and you know, we kept saying, which reality? Like we didn't want the conversation on the couch to. We definitely wanted that to be a misdirect. Everything's supposed to be a misdirect, you know. Tara, you're up. I know you're starting to sign off there, but what you got coming up next?
Oh yeah. I don't know if anything I'm allowed to talk about, actually. I am working on I'm working on a couple different projects, all in very early stages. I am working on a short next week. Just doing production stuff, but everything I've got, I can't actually talk about yet, but stuff's happening. Cool.
Yeah. lot of producing.
All in the producing, the producing hat. I'm really working on building my producer-y credits so that I can get to a level that then we can hire a line producer for the day of when we are doing our next one, so that I get to sleep for the next one. Now, what do you have coming up? I know you have stuff.
Next week, I'm going to Dubuque to film a short film called Obit with Way and Ben Tedesco. And I don't know who else will be involved in that. It should be interesting. It'll be cold. I'm not excited about the cold part, but it's snowing here. So it's not like I'm coming from sunny California this time. And then I still have, there's this film that it's a pilot. And I don't know if it's a pilot where there's more written to it or if it's just a pilot with the idea of a film. It's called Hose the Bulge, which it's about a home shopping network and it's behind the scenes of it. But I'm there selling the Bulge. It's a confidence booster. It's running around festivals and doing pretty darn well. My friend Kevin and his Tara, her name is Trish. They wrote it, produced it, directed it, all those. I mean, no, they didn't direct it. Wrote it, produced it, edited it all together. Yeah, that's but it was the same people who did the dog park one. And I'll share that whenever it's online. But so I think that's it. And then Tara and I need to start writing again so that we can film something. That's where we're at.
Back to the death. We do have our one big project we need to start looking back at again. So and then in the future, what?
I was gonna say that's a great next question, David Faith.
Oh, what did you want?
Natalie always has something for this.
What's this question?
When you watch the finished film, is there anything you'd cut differently or alter your performance?
Oh my God.
See, I told you that was a good question. That's exactly the reaction I always get.
A million things.
Yep, see?
A million things. Off the top of my head, wow. I would have gotten us I would have gotten us more time. I would have had B-roll so that we didn't have to cut Tara's scene. Because I think we didn't have a transition from the coming into the party to the couch. There was a scene in between there that we cut, which I actually think establishes the fact that Tara and I are actually friends and that we do bond over wine. And, there's this whole thing that gets lost.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's half a page, but we couldn't transition because we just didn't have the right footage for it. And then what we did have, I personally didn't like. So I asked for it to be cut.
Didn't we shoot that whole scene in like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just, what happened at the end of that scene is someone snubs me at the very end of that scene. And I thought it gave away too much, that it was a negative experience for her going into the couch. And I didn't want the negativeness of that. And we couldn't edit around it. And so we just ended up having to cut Tara. And that was my biggest regret in the thing.
It was a bummer because it did really, I felt like it did make that button even more impactful because that button, that wine bottle button in a theater with people works so well. Like everyone goes, oh, or they have some reaction to it, like while the credits are running. So I think it would have even helped that even more if oh, they bond over wine. This is their thing. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Bond over whining too. Yes, we do.
Yes, absolutely. Bonding over whining. As for the future of social anxiety, we do have one festival definitely in the books coming up. It's going to be on February 10th. We are a special screening, not in competition, at the oh my God, Cambria.
Cambria. You're right. Sorry.
Cambria Rom-Com Film Festival. So we're really excited about that. I'm going to do my best to be in attendance. Natalie is working on it too. Jason has to be at the DGA Awards. How dare you, sir?
It's award season.
How dare you be so busy and important? Toby, I really miss these conversations about filmmaking, pursuit, and process. Well, I'm glad that we did this then. All right. Anything else we want to share, Natalie, before we sign
I'm going to take this last question and then we'll wrap it up. This one's from Blair because I just think it's a good. From a timing standpoint, what is the target length of these sort of films to stay in festivals? I actually heard Paul Sloop talking about it. He does Pittsburgh,
Cleveland.
Okay, and
both.
Cordillera. And he was talking about, he said there's no target. At this point in time, there's no target. It's just don't make it, I mean, it's make it what it needs to be, which is how I feel. But honestly, you're much easier to get programmed if you're under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, keeping it under.
Yeah. I just kind of not feel this question. I just did a consultation yesterday on someone's short film. And that was a discussion of like, if you think like a programmer and like how you get like an ideal slot's like 90 minutes. And so essentially that breaks down to like 2 7-minute films, 3 15s and 1 30. I'm not saying that's the exact math on it, but that's
basically what they're doing right now.
Yeah, kind of what you're doing. And you start to work on building those. What I've seen from acceptance, getting early acceptance into festivals and stuff, they start building those blocks pretty early. So it's when you're easily slottable in because you're 15 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever, it does make you easier to slot you in.
Yeah.
Hard and fast rule. It's just kind of a guideline.
Don't make it any longer than it has to be. It's really just the rule.
Always,
like cut whatever you can, make it move. Don't slow the festival down is my thought process.
Never slow the block down. Even your credits, don't slow the block down. That's our game.
Anyway, I think that was a good last question to end upon. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Nathan, Alan, Jason, David, wherever you are, and Wei, and Tara, and me. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for asking the questions. This will live on. If you're seeing this later, you know it lived on because I'm saying this and you're still here. We're going to leave this up. So we will see you guys later.
Guys, next time.
I guess I'm going to push the end button now.
Bye, ending the button. Bye.
I'm pushing the button right here that endeth thus endeth
Thank you, everybody.
the stream.